squad. There's razorhail. Be careful.
Please, don't. Have you brought your umbrella?
What's an umbrella gonna do?
Did you bring your steel umbrella?
Well, you
ow,
need to
ow,
test
ow.
it out. Now go.
Joe, remember we used that as a shield. It's got all holes in it now.
No, the steel umbrella, the one specifically
That's what
made
I
for
said.
razorhail.
No, that's the problem, Joe. We used it for bullets.
It's that particular metallic umbrella that Louis Sidol's character has in Death Stranding. That should help you.
That's the thing, though. Everyone that I sent to go and fetch that umbrella back came back 100 years older.
Damn it.
I mean,
Timefall will do that to you.
Well,
but that umbrella is specifically designed to resist that too, so it's not working.
I mean, there is good news.
What?
Yes.
They're still alive.
Well, all things considered, after we got out of a haunted hospital,
but the problem is they're too old to. The problem is they're too old to do the mission.
Oh well.
So yeah, basically, forgot the rest of this act. Basically, it's all about trying your best to not get by the razorhail, because there's going to be you have to also make sure that you go through specific parts that have some kind of thing up above you.
So those razorhail also affect potentially the locals,
yes.
If they showered in them. Okay.
And one has to wonder, would it have been safer if we stayed inside the creepy hospital?
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say no.
Still is a mystery what that AI was planning when we left. But hey, I'm sure we won't hear from him ever again.
We actually won't. We actually won't.
I know, I was trying to keep it in suspense there.
That's the thing, Jova. Again, if it doesn't get brought up ever again, it's not like there's any suspense to be had anyway.
Well, there's suspense for those who don't know.
It should be for Gears of War 6.
No,
maybe they'll explain that in tactics.
Don't worry, Les. I'm sure comic book number 256 explains it.
Who knows?
Alright.
I've also seen that this particular game, at least so far, has removed the sections where the locals open a hole and you need to seal it or defeat all the enemies in the area to seal it.
The holes, yes.
Yeah, it was too full of holes in the plot, so they got rid of it.
Funny.
Which is interesting because Gears of War 4 brings those back, although they're not
well, it's a prequel, so I can imagine bringing that before.
Gears of War 4 is not a prequel.
My bad, I got confused with Judgment.
Bobby, they're made by the same developers. Are they made by the same developer?
Is this game? No.
No, Judgment's in 4.
Oh, whoa, Judgment.
Yes.
No, Judgment was a collaboration between Epic Games and People Can Fly, and 4 was made by the Coalition, although Rod Ferguson was the producer of all games.
Let's call it that they have a partial relationship, in that sense.
As far as I'm aware, they only...
The guys showing a house at the end of it, like, okay, thanks, bye.
As far as I'm aware, Rod Ferguson is the only common link between the Coalition and Epic Games.
And admittedly, he is a rather important part of both games.
He is. It's just that without Cliffy B, that's how the fans call him.
Oh, that goes without saying. I'm just talking about the relationship between Judgment and 4.
Mm-hmm. Now, even Judgment's clearly suffered from the lack of Cliffy B. It's just the gameplay, while it's still fine, it's basically using the gameplay from free outside of the while also adding the tower defense stuff and the scoring system. It lacks the same kind of spark that 2 and 3 have. Like there's no set pieces like in 2 and 3. It's a very...
You talking story-wise or gameplay-wise?
Both, actually.
Oh, because if you're going to mention that, I guess we might as well throw in 1 to the mix as well. Though I guess, to be fair, the remake of 1 was actually made by the Coalition.
Well, with one, it's I cut one a bit more slack because it's the first game, so of course if they're not gonna get everything well the first time, that's
I
that's
get that.
more
I get.
excusable.
I get that. What I mean is like, I feel like Judgment and 4 don't even live up to the standards of the first game.
Well,
regards
no,
to, you
actually,
know-
I'll still story-wise, yeah, I'll take Gears of War 1 because the characters are way cooler.
And the dialogue too.
Yeah. But gameplay-wise, I still prefer Judgment because Judgment has all the refinements from 2 and 3.
Despite having wow, you actually prefer the game that completely throws a wrench into the control scheme.
Well, yeah, it is annoying, but outside of that one annoyance, yes, the gameplay still carries all the refinements of 2 and 3, so it is a more enjoyable game to play overall.
I guess.
So, although it depends on you, of course. But the thing when it comes to Gears of War, I enjoy the character interactions, but that's it. Like when it comes to, I mean, story-wise, most of the story-wise, it's all the same stuff, and even the story payoffs of 2 and 3 are payoffs from stuff that's told to us in the comics. So it becomes very hard for me to be as invested as I should. But anyway,
It really. So basically, in a sense, the comics did it better than Judgment and 4.
Well, I'll bring that up, Joe. But to give you an idea, you know how in the previous, I think it was in the previous part, we had that flashback to Dom's wife.
Yes.
That's the only flashback to her wife we'll get before the eventual payoff cutscene that we'll get later.
Oh, but of course.
Originally, I was and when I looked it up, turns out the story of Dom and his wife Maria is mostly told once again in the comics. Originally, when I was playing this game for the first time, I was thinking that we're gonna do a Lost Future thing, where throughout the course of the game we're gonna have these flashbacks that tell us that give us insight into their relationship and how they were, how she is, and all that stuff. And then later, eventually, when shit hits the fan, it will become a lot easier to care because, again, just like in Lost Future, we've been seeing it through flashbacks. However, they only gave us that one flashback, and even that one flashback didn't really tell us anything. Like, I was hoping that they were going to do that, but again, I have to go read comics if I want to get more proper insight into Maria and her relationship with Dom.
I guess to be fair, their relationship isn't so much the main focus of the game. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a plot point, but not like a major focus here. The way
but I can tell you that the most emotional scene in this game is purely dependent on that relationship, so I'm gonna have to disagree with you there.
It depends on one's perspective, honestly. The way I view this original trilogy is sort of like how I view the original Star Wars trilogy. They're the main stuff there, and a lot of stuff is built off of and side material, but it's not necessarily side material that you need. It's just that for the time that these games were made, these were the main stories here and there. And like I said, I mean, well, again, it's not a case where it feels like I can't enjoy the game without knowing all these details here and there, and I guess for some it just gets the job done, like it does for me. Now when it comes to 4 and 5, I'm with you all the way.
Well, actually, 4 and 5 don't require any side material to be read. They're self-contained, actually.
Well, neither does this, technically, when you get down to it.
No, I'm sorry, John. I'm gonna
Not to
disagree.
mention, wasn't there the fact that most of the comics were done after the original trilogy?
Yeah, I was
That
about to
too,
get that.
yeah.
So technically speaking, by the time of the release of this one, there wasn't anything, that the pages were required.
Well, all the more reason why this game should have expanded, should have had more flashbacks and expanded more upon that. Like, I mean, if you're gonna give me one flashback, well, okay, can you give me more so I can get even better stuff?
Again, I know what you're talking about, but I kind of don't really feel like the game is really that focused around it that much, in the sense where, again, I mean, honestly, it really does feel like the stories just work even without the additional info we get. Now, the additional info that we do get does definitely enhance stuff, but it's never to the point where I feel like you absolutely needed to enjoy the plots or understand what's going on either.
That's not that I don't understand what's going on. That's not the issue. My issue is that I know nothing about Maria. Literally nothing. Because this game doesn't tell me anything about her. So why should I care?
Honestly, I never really got the feeling that the game wants you to care that much about
at
her.
least so far, the way it presented, considering, she's Dom's, lovely, interested and all, she seems to be more of a tool than a character so far.
It's
Definitely an issue, yeah.
again, that's the thing though. I don't think the story's really asking you to care for her that much. I mean, now is the goal to rescue her? Yes. But it's sort of a bit like a Mario and Princess Peach sort of thing where, yeah, the focus is more on the conflict rather than the characters in question themselves here.
I'll get back to you when we get to that later scene. I mean, it's one of those. Not to mention one of those things, Jove, is that here's the thing. I did not need, but here's the big difference, Jova. As someone who has never delved into the expanded universe, I've only seen the main movies. I have never had any trouble. I've never had any need for reading any of the Star Wars material or anything like that, because all of the characters from the original trilogy are developed within the movies themselves.
Well, yeah, and I feel that the characters that we actually focus on in this trilogy are developed well enough in the game themselves as well.
The Deltas, for Cole, I'll agree with you. For the others, the romance between Anya and Marcus, yeah, I wanted that to be in the games. Just saying. That's why I keep saying, why instead of a 4 and 5, the Coalition should have made a prequel trilogy focusing on the Locust Wars.
Well, again, when I say main cast, I'm talking about like the main characters at hand, and while the romance is here and there, it's sort of to the side as opposed to being main focus material.
I guess it's just that, like, if you're gonna create a cinematic, story-driven campaign, as the game calls it, when you select it in the menu, I would expect something like that. You know, like, give me a lot of cinematics.
I think we should take into consideration that back when these games were originally made, it wasn't exactly planned to make it a big cinematic universe either. It just happened to be an IP that was very popular.
And we were using the logic that being the shooter logic where the campaign was more tacked on and people were only caring about the multiplayer.
I guess.
In a way, Gears of War was kind of like the Expendables of video games. Like, the dude bro action was definitely at the forefront, but they told a coherent enough story. It was like after the original trilogy was made when they decided to expand more on it and, you know, sort of emphasize stuff more. While also, of course, maintaining the dude bro aspect of it.
And then 4 came in and ruined everything.
Yeah. You know what I'll maintain? I am always willing to believe that if if Epic had still remained with this franchise, they probably would have incorporated a lot more of the better storytelling aspects in if they, hadn't left the project.
In a way, you're saying, Jova, that Fortnite is responsible for something else, for another bad thing.
Would not surprise me.
Like I said, Jova, the better course of action would have been to make a prequel trilogy that actually incorporates all those elements from the comics into a game. And that would have been way cooler than what we got with 4 and 5.
I know, right? I guess we should just thank our lucky blessings that Coalition didn't pull a Disney and make all those other comics non-canon. Just to make way for their own comic book series, which is a thing, mind you. I haven't gotten a look at the newer Gears comics. I've been taking a look at the side material, and yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to work with in those. Prequel material, sequel material, side material, you name it.
It's just one of those things where, yeah, like I said, like with, when it comes to, that's the thing too. I cannot tell you, by the way, Theo, it's not just Kate. The new squad, they all suck. Like,
oh god, yeah.
They're so lame.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just that, Theo. Their dialogue is so lame.
Let me put it like this. Theo. Imagine if we tried to make a Saturday morning cartoon sound mature.
It's like, okay. Here's a joke that I actually saw when I was playing earlier today, Theo. Like, this is supposed to be the witty banter of the game, remember? Basically, we're in a museum, inside a ruined museum, and we're killing off the enemy, right?
Okay.
And then, when we finish off and kill all the enemies, we have a scene with we have a little line of dialogue with Kate saying, and I quote, "I only have one thing to say in their suggestion box: worst museum ever." That's the joke.
And I'm guessing there wasn't a setup for that.
Not really. She just says it out of nowhere.
It's basically them trying to show, hey, look at how spunky and cool our characters are. They're
Also,
hip.
Museums are lame, am I right?
Oh.
Not like us, the cool kids.
Yeah. That's pretty much a lot of what the dialogue amounts to, and it's, look at us, we're cool and hip because we're the new generation.
By the way, Theo, there's this joke that Dell cannot do rock, paper, scissors because he always picks paper.
That's something that I will see in a Team 4-star video.
I thought the whole trying to be cool and hip thing died in the mid 2000s.
It never did. With each new generation comes a new iteration of that.
It's because Theo, basically Theo, they're about to they're supposed to go down into a catacomb, right? Oh, actually, a cutscene also. Which means we must defend it while Bear takes care.
Of course. Now that's a lot of damage.
Don't worry, guys. I'll just cast the sleep spell on some of the enemy. Oh no, wait, this is 14, is it?
We're not in Dungeons and Dragons.
Actually, besides the drips of bosses and mini bosses are immune to that kind of thing.
Unless it's
That thing is a
something
lifesaver
like...
in Fates.
Huh.
Fates as in FATEs in 14.
Yeah. Basically, dungeon iteration. That's instances. Sorry. That's
Not
what
Fate
that's
as
what
in
they call
Fate
it.
the anime series.
You were saying, Pedro?
Oh, hold on, has a cutscene.
Oh, sorry.
And just like that, we're home
We
free!
made it.
Woo, so Ric Flair stole the van. Now what?
Maybe, maybe Joshua is a fan of Ric Flair?
Maybe. Wonder how Ric Flair got on fighting the zombies.
Sounds like potential
Alright.
for a movie.
Alright, so this is now if I remember correctly, yeah.
Oh great,
Okay.
now we're in Blizzard and Cold. We're going across all the terrains like a Mario game.
Fortunately, we have a tank.
Yes.
Alright.
And I guess unlike a Mario game, it's not like these environments are right smack dab next to each other. Or like
Alright,
that
so-
godforsaken Tarzan movie.
So we have to get to Mount Kadar, because that's where apparently the Locusts are. So yeah, let's go. As for what you were, to finish what I was saying to you, that's the thing. This is how it is. Basically, they're about to go into the catacombs, right? And Baird and Dell, being the also awesome buddies that they are, they go. I'll walk paper. Who's gonna go in first? No, Kate asks. Who's gonna go in first? And then Baird's like, so not Baird. I'm thinking of a better character. Sorry. JD is like, I'll rock paper scissors you for it, and then no, it's not right. It's Dell that says to JD. Dell says to the JD, I'll rock paper scissors you for it, and then JD is like, you don't know how to play rock, and you're terrible at rock paper scissors. Why? Because you always pick paper. No, I don't. Here, let's try it. And then they do it, and he picks paper again.
Toy.
It kind of reminds me a bit on how, the Predator portrays, stuff like Tourette syndrome.
When you say the Predator, do you mean the original
The
Predator
more
or
recent
the...
movie.
Oh yeah, don't people dislike that movie?
A lot with Java.
From what I've looked into, apparently Gears 5 tries to flesh them out more with backstory and stuff like that. So maybe 5 will do something better. But from what I've heard, 5 is not that good either.
Let me put it like this. 5 was the studio trying to pay mind feedback. And by try, we mean overemphasize and overdo it in exchange of the feedback heard.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, by the time 5 hits, so doesn't JD have like a new scar? You know, like Marcus does, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell,
Alright.
I dare say JD kind of gets demoted to side character in that game.
Oh, and so far in 4.
No,
that's
but
the
talk
thing.
about 5.
No, in 5, Kate is the main character. She's the one you play as.
That's what I mean. Poor JD gets demoted to side character in 5.
Not that it was that big a loss from the first place, mind you, because he's lame. He's so lame.
Yeah, but why not try and make him better? And again, and yet they emphasize more focus on Cade, a character.
Oh, you want us to make him better? Here you go. He has a scar now, just like Marcus.
Pretty
See?
much. And yet, of all the weird things to take from feedback, why would you emphasize Kate, the character people were already,
Because she's a
iffy
strong,
about?
independent female character, Jova. She no need no man to help her take down the Locust.
Okay, you know what I like? I like strong female characters, not strong female characters. There's a difference.
Here's an idea, Jova. How about a character?
Exactly. Don't matter what's between that character's legs, as long as that character is good. Okay, with the
Hell,
program media.
Yeah. Hell, the Tangled series has not one but two incredibly healthy, strong female characters. Rapunzel
Yeah.
and Cassandra. Like, and both of them cover both aspects. Whereas Rapunzel is, despite being strong on her own in terms of action and stuff like that, she still manages to fulfill the traditional Disney princess quota. You know, the whole being nice and talk to the animals kind of thing. Whereas for the more action-packed heroine, you have Cassandra. So there you go. You fulfill the two sides equally and without any toxicity in between.
And it doesn't mean that, neither can't get into trouble and be rescued by the other. It's still, too.
Exactly. There's even a remember we've all already seen season 1 anyway. I remember in the finale of season 1 where Rapunzel is stuck in that room and Eugene and the rest of the crew saves her, and he even makes a little reference in the movie. Here I am, wanting to save you from a tower again. So yeah, they even have Eugene save her on occasions when it makes sense.
The main point we're trying to get across, audience, is that Gears of War 4 through 5 have a very, very weird and skewed sense of what people like in quote-unquote characters.
It's a lake with not convenient ties, the one that will break easily except in particular spots.
Gotta be careful.
To be fair, 4 so far, I'm talking about specifically 4 so far doesn't do any of that. It just has all 3 characters equally share the spotlight for the most part.
Oh yeah.
It's
4 is mainly just lame story-wise.
Yeah. It's just they're so lame. The dialogue is so lame.
And I guess the reason that the fan base really felt that back then was because Gears of War was renowned for its dialogue. Yes, Twibs?
I was just gonna say, the way the number of times and the way you said so lame, I'm tempted to make a song about it, using that bit of, using the words you said.
The stupid statement dance remix.
Yeah, do a beat and a bit of music, and the chorus will be so lame, so lame.
Well, Wibs, I don't know. But indie rappers managed to make a song for Mad World based entirely on the word "I'm so cold," so why not?
So yeah, here we have an interesting bout with the tank. Again, another nice form of gameplay to help mix things up. Yeah, Metal Slug fans will get a kick out of this.
It just has normal wheels instead of the traditional tank. The roller thingies on the side. I forgot what specific term.
Treads?
Treads, thank you.
Yeah. Basically, the basic gist of it is cross the pond without falling off. It basically boils down to that. I recommend moving slowly so you can make sure that you don't get surprised with one of the missile fighter reavers blindsiding you. So make sure you proceed slowly. There you go.
And then they blitz you. Wouldn't that be a kick in the pants?
Fortunately, I'm out of the ice right now.
You so help me, I will turn this right around.
Well, I guess it's
compare
a I guess it's a good thing that the Locust do not have like sea monsters or stuff like that. Yes, Pedro.
No, like compare. It even makes it even lamer because Gears of War 3's Gears of War 3 is my favorite of the original trilogy. Like there's one particular line. I'm not gonna talk about context, but there's one particular moment involving Cole, because Cole is by far the only member of the squad that gets fully developed in game, and I appreciate that. There's one particular line of dialogue from Cole in the third game that's genuinely profound, where he literally, I'm not gonna say the context to not spoil you, but he literally says, and I quote, have you ever feel like you died and yet nobody told you? And trust me, when you hear it in context, it makes perfect sense, and it really is a great line for the specific scene where he says it. Yeah, that's the thing, Joe. It's exactly because of the fact that Cole is such a great because it gets such great development in the third game. I wanted more of that in the games. That's exactly the point. When you give me that, I kind of want more.
Oh, trust me, Pedro. I mean, I definitely get where you're coming from. I just look at the fact that, when these games came out, unfortunately, well, in regards to what their budget could encompass, it seems like they focused more on the gameplay. And while the story was definitely well crafted here and there, they did what they could.
Yeah, technically Epic Games was the one funding these. You asked about Epic Games, Joe. That's the thing, Joe. The reason Epic Games stopped making these games, according to a good trial that I have on, is that apparently these games were starting to become too expensive to produce for them, so they had to sell the IP to Microsoft.
It really is a shame, but again, it's funny. Yeah, another comparison to Star Wars, and in a sense, the original trilogy, like the original trilogy of Star Wars, had sort of these constraints to work within, and that's why they couldn't do their stories as expansive as they may have wanted to originally. But you can definitely see hints of a lot of story that they wanted to maybe potentially follow up on in a sequel. I do feel that,
like in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
although I'll give it credit, I'll still say Gears of War Judgment is at the very least a better prequel than Phantom Menace, at least.
So, anyway, blasting them off the side of a cliff.
I mean, the real problem with Gears of War,
But is it a better prequel than X-Men Origins then?
Okay. No, actually, no, it is. I mean, X-Men Origins is just terrible.
To be fair, the X-Men series, Fox series in itself has a better prequel than Origins, so...
Gears of War Judgment at worst is just kind of good, to be honest.
Origins is that's very, very bad. That's arguably even worse than Phantom Menace in some regards. You want to go for something that's a better prequel, maybe
Gears
go...
of War game written by Skip Woods.
Okay, Gears of War should be something that's not too hard to write for. That doesn't mean it's necessarily easy, but it shouldn't be too hard to write for. But I could see Skip Woods ruining it.
Which is a shame, because this new writer, post-free, does a great job at making it sound easy to screw up.
True, yeah.
Well, okay.
Well, actually, you know what? I think Oh, go on.
Gears of War, remember, before he wrote 4 and 5, he wrote Judgment as well. Okay, to be fair, Judgment is not bad. It's just that it's so...
neutered?
The number, and it's just, the characters aren't completely undeveloped and not all that interesting outside of Baird and Cole, and even Cole.
Okay, how do we cross this?
Well, it's don't worry, sir. Marcus has an idea.
Okay, go on.
Oh look, a rod that kind of looks like a ramp. I think we can use this as a ramp.
I think so too, but don't quote us on this.
There, that works.
They'll be writing that one in the history books of war. On that day when the Delta Squad used that ramp and rode it like Dukes of Hazzard.
Yep. Where was I? Oh yeah. No. See, here's the thing. Gears of War Judgment is just kind of I mean, and even Baird is still fun, but Cole's not even himself. He's just. I get that it's before. I guess it's a prequel, but still, Cole is nowhere near as awesome as he usually is. He's just kind of there. Really.
The more I hear about it, the more it sounds like Judgment encapsulates a lot of stuff I don't like about bad prequels. They're lame.
Yeah, honestly, Jova, when it comes to Jova, the whole thing about Judgment being Judgment is only a prequel by chronology. Like it doesn't add. Gears of War Judgment doesn't tie into the other games at all. Like you could literally have made this. You could literally have made this exact same story with completely new characters and replace Barrett and Cole with new characters.
That
Makes
would've
sense
been-
considering Judgment was apparently made just, to plug the hole in the meantime.
It would certainly explain why I don't often hear about Judgment compared to any other Gears game that much.
It's completely unnecessary. So far, at least 4 and 5, from what I know, never bring up anything. The only returning thing from Judgment is the tower defense sections that are in 4.
Like, something's wrong with the most memorable thing about your game that people quote is that General Ram had a DLC for that. Like, that's the most thing I hear
Actually,
people
that's
remember.
That was for free, Jova.
That was for free.
Oh, God. Never
I
mind
agree with
then. Even I mistook that then. So, yeah, there's nothing really memorable about Judgment, is there?
Story-wise, not really. The new characters they introduce, they don't get any kind of development. They're just kind of who cares? Like,
But hey, at least we get to see Cole and Barrett in their prime.
Well, Barrett is still fine. It's mostly Cole who's been neutered of his personality for some reason.
Which is kind of a cardinal sin, honestly. You don't neuter the Cole train.
No, you don't really. I have to agree. Especially considering he's my favorite.
So going off of what you've learned, it sounds like the spectrum is this. Judgment started off as just Gears of War 4, lame. And from what the fanbase regards of Gears of War 5, terrible. That's quite an interesting evolution.
Well, that's interesting. Well, that's the thing, Joe. Unfortunately, I will not be able to enjoy it as well as quote unquote enjoy it as well as something because back when Gears of War 5 first came out, even the campaign was riddled with bugs.
Oh joy!
I'm not even kidding. Even the guys I follow, like Crap Gamer and Mooch, they had troubles where they got stuck and they couldn't even progress in the campaign. Apparently, it's been fixed since then with patches. But that game was 3 years in development. You're telling me you couldn't? You're telling me you couldn't? Okay, I can understand. I can understand. Be a little more understanding with the multiplayer, because with multiplayer is more chaotic. You can. But the campaign is more scripted than the multiplayer, so you'd think that one would be at the very least polished on release.
If I recall correctly, we kind of established the dude with elements in the past, but Micro doesn't seem to be wanting to do beta testing these days.
Hi there.
That's the thing too, honestly. So when it comes to, and this is the opinion of a lot of people, not me, for the record, because I haven't gotten for 4 entirely yet, and I haven't gotten to 5 yet, so I can't entirely speak for those games myself. But I can tell you what I've heard. A lot of fans pretty much it's something before free for free industries too.
Mm-hmm.
Those studios were made by Microsoft, were created and funded by Microsoft specifically for the purpose of being an IP factory. And as the years go on, it becomes way apparent and more that the developers in those studios are only there for their paycheck, and they're not really interested in. I mean, Rod Ferguson. Probably at the very least is there, but to Rod Ferguson's credit, there is also the primary theory that Microsoft is strong-arming him into not bringing back the dude bro aspect because they want they like having Kate in the limelight. It seems.
It's their way of trying to garner in a new audience, and they think that that'll make them more money.
Marketing and personality of the actual game aside, I don't mind the idea of a Gears with a female protagonist, and especially considering the fact that Microsoft right now doesn't have a current IP that would fit the bill. The closest I can imagine was the Perfect Dark IP when they purchased Rare, but how long was that? How long ago was that?
Too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's I guess the female option for the protagonist of the Fable games, but it's more like your tactician unit for the more recent Fire Emblem games, whoop-de-doo, I guess.
Oh shit.
Oh
no.
boy.
Let me guess, a jump scare. When we get back the light, it's
Has someone been thinking inside that thing?
I'm sure we've had a lot of.
no.
Oh boy.
To his credit, to his Baird, in order to fix this, Baird has to think. So.
And that's what caused the
Oh
power
boy!
cut.
We're
Yeah,
being
that's another
shook.
thing. Yeah, that's another thing. Since the game brought this up, might as well talk about that as well. Another thing that
Oops.
Another thing that Four in Judgment abandoned from the original trilogy was the horror element that these games also used. Because another thing that sets this game apart from its competitors is the fact that despite being a cover-based shooter, it also has some horror elements to it. Remember the scene where Carmine died in the first game? So the game has always tried to have a gritty horror-like atmosphere. And 4 with its bright colors completely destroyed that. Even Judgment was already kind of like trying to get rid of it. Although Judgment, I guess I'll give it credit. Judgment was a quick, cheaper project. So I guess to be fair, maybe they couldn't quite get that in. But 4 doesn't have that excuse. 4 doesn't even look like a Gears game. It looks like more like an Uncharted game. It looks all colorful and all that stuff, which again, that's fine, and the game looks really good on its own merits in terms of graphics. It just doesn't look like a Gears game should look like, because Gears games are not supposed to be all colorful and shit.
So in that kind of sense, you're telling me that Gears 4 is more of a Crackdown game than Crackdown 3,
Oh my god.
just without the building demolition elements.
I'm not familiar with Crackdown, so I cannot really.
The first couple of games has this neon aesthetic, so I guess there's that. But again, more colorful. It's free, but decides to go with the brown.
Wanna
thing.
be? Oh, I'm
Not to
so
mention-
looking forward to tackling the Crackdown series. Is that dead yet, I wonder?
Yes,
Most likely at this point. After the Friday that was Crackdown 3, I zeroed it out, Mike, because I was gonna green out another one.
Well done, Microsoft, well done.
Remember, Java, the closest.
On.
Oh no, another one.
Pardon me. We just used the corpse of a worm as a
You just,
ram.
Let's go. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was about to make a different joke. I was saying I was gonna bet that Bird and Cole were hugging each other during the jump.
It seems like Bear doesn't like jumps with feet.
Well, he's the tech guy. He's clearly the less prone for these over-the-topness. Displacement.
Hey, are we late to the party?
Nosferatu, what are you doing here? Like,
Good question.
Yeah, he looks a bit like a classic comic book vulture.
After you jackasses blew up my station and Franklin's outpost got overrun, the surface wasn't safe.
Wow, interesting take. Robin does trying to do an old man's voice.
Not anymore. We were fine here for a few months, as long as you stayed away from the roads and Nexus. But now they're coming around where they didn't before. Kidnapping people, torturing them. Nexus? Yeah, Nexus. You got wax in your ears? This is where all the locusts come from.
Nexus.
Oh, great. So they're immigrants from the Demon Souls.
Hey, old man.
Oh boy.
Can we get there from here?
You have to cross the lake, but nobody does except Locust. Those waters ain't
Oh
safe.
no.
No way.
Oh yeah, it's time for a river level.
I want you to
Not
take
just
these
that,
people
with
to the
some
surface.
creatures in it. Guess I spoke too soon again.
They're gonna die otherwise. You'll follow down in the grind lifts once we set off Jack's beacon.
yeah, I moved Marcus on this one.
This is when he tells you he'll take it under advisement.
Yeah, I have to take the orders, Baird.
I miss when Marcus still had his
Gather
brain.
everyone and go with them. They'll take you to safety.
I can't wait to see how much you'll rage at Gears of War 5 from what I've seen.
Didn't say that, but you're not.
But
here.
Move your ass.
yeah.
Wait, before you go. You ever seen this woman?
You gonna ask this to everyone we come to, Dom?
Well, he's
It's-
looking for her, so.
Yeah.
It's like Maze Hughes in Fullmetal Alchemist, where he presents his wife's photo, his wife and daughter photo everywhere.
One of the groups that came down before. Stu's group, I think. But Stu and them got
Oh.
captured.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
But the captured ones. The locusts have been taking them towards Nexus.
Oh, the Nexus. There we go, Ted. We're going to the Nexus.
Oh, I already mentioned the joke before.
Find them.
Yeah.
When you get to the highway, near
But
the
that doesn't
dam,
make any sense. Nexus is supposed to be a safe, a place where you're safe.
Not
Well, the
anymore.
Locust
Hey,
probably
hey, hey,
corrupted
I
it
forgot
into
the
something.
name. I forgot the name, but there's that character that if you are
True.
so stupid to recruit, he's gonna
Well,
kill
Theo,
everyone.
so well, Pedro, maybe that's true for the bad guys.
I guess.
Interesting
Maybe
point
we
of
are the real
view.
bad guys.
Like Marcus and Don will move forward, whereas Baird and Cole will escort all these people to
Delta
safety.
here.
But-
Cole and Bear
oh.
are heading to the surface with survivors for evac.
Roger that, Delta. What about you and Dom?
We're heading in deeper to the Nexus stronghold. We think we found the path.
Copy that. We have groin lift reinforcements awaiting your signal.
Yay.
Thanks, Anya.
Control. Delta out.
But yeah, Joe, what I was saying before is that Microsoft for this generation seemed to have.
Oh,
if
no,
it
no,
doesn't-
look at Mark. Look at Dom.
Maria better not be down here.
What the
He's
hell are
just
you
trying
doing?
to awkwardly get away.
Anyway, you were saying to you?
Yeah, remember, Java, when Microsoft also wanted to do a new Phantom Dust sequel,
Oh
but they got
God.
retooled to a remake of the first game, which turned out to be bad, so they took to have some damage containment, they made it free to play, and then nobody still cared. So, there's
What a
that, I
shame.
guess.
All right, everybody. Let's see what we can find in the Nexus.
In the Nexus part.
In the Nexus, see ya.
In the Nexus.